So, the second season of Dragon the Nine Realms is out now, with 7 new episodes to watch. Ooh, they splashed out with an extra episode.
Spared no expense.
Episode 1. Already I could see the animation and lighting has vastly improved, even from Tom tossing around in bed. He's having a nightmare about the Fault Ripper dragon. Initially I thought he was having some sort of PTSD about it, which I would have had lots of questions for, because it's not really that traumatic now, is it? But later on it's shown, only slightly told, that he regrets blasting it in the face. So what? Decent storytelling? That's not so predictable? Oh gosh nabbit. Also, it's nice to see what actually happens to the Vault Ripper. Now it's far more clearer and understandable. These shots should have been in the final episode of the last season. Anyways, back to the animation. They've got more budget and yes, I'm impressed. They're showing more subtle movements like the eye twitching. Of course they still have the mistakes, but not as noticeable unless you're an addict to animation like me. I think the lighting has improved as well, but I know less about that, so moving on. In terms of the episode, the gang fight a new dragon. Yeah, it's a unicorn looking thing. The design is alright, I guess. I would like to see an adult version, as at the moment it looks like something out of Rescue Riders. Unless this is adult, and I kinda have a bit of issues with it. The abilities are cool though. A bubble blast, a neat new idea that I don't think has been done before, and protruding spikes all over its body, which is cool, but again, it's exactly like Rescue Riders. But overall, it gets a thumbs up. June likes it because it's a unicorn and secretly takes it home. Because it's a wild animal, it doesn't sit tight and messes the place up, and escapes. Oh, and we also get introduced to June's brother. He's alright. He serves as a, we can't tell him the secret, but he's gonna find out eventually. I've seen this type of role before, but I neither like him or dislike him. He's just there. For now, they just trap him in the cupboard, but for future episodes, I imagine he'll become more of an antagonist.
Hashtag stressed but beautiful.
Hashtag no one talks like that. The gang actually do Dragon Rider stuff like we see in the beginning, and it's actually fun watching them trying to capture the dragon, and once caught, avoid the horde of unicorns that were summoned, get it back to the home. Alex! I kinda like Alex now. She's more involved and fun, instead of just awkwardly standing there to the side. Also, the pacing sort of helps her dialogue. So, who knew that if they lent into their strengths and do more of their own thing, instead of hitching on the back of pre-established material, it would be better. Some bits of music is nice, and some dragons have their own theme.
Drop it!
The show is good, but that's all it is though, just good. It's still no race to the edge, and still has a lot of cringy jokes and moments, but in all intents and purposes, I genuinely enjoyed myself watching this episode, and I hope this kind of quality carries on. Who would throw away a pair of Yeezys? Episode 2. Yeah, they've improved every aspect of the story. It's clear that the first season was rushed a lot. So this episode is about Cullison exploring Sector 9, Sector 2, which is where the dragons are kept, and where the entrance to the hidden world is. So it's their job to plug it up so the evil corporation doesn't find it. Dee tries to lead the others to seal the hole, whilst Tom slows his mother down and preventing her from discovering it. They got saddles from nowhere. Seriously, who hired the blacksmith? Some really nice mother and son moments throughout this episode, and Dee and Plowhorn being very cute. But that's very similar to Fishlegs and Meatlug. Dee tries to be as best as a leader as his dad, but fails. And sort of just gets on everyone's nerves. But in the end he discovers that he could do things his own way, and not like his father, which serves as a decent message, I guess. We meet a new dragon. Nothing much of note, it's basically as characteristic in the trailer as in the episode. Fat, stubborn dragon that doesn't want to move, spewing copious amounts of lava. The pacing is much better, no longer the time of awkward pausing after a sentence, and they know how to sort of build the tension better, other than forcing it upon us. I mean, they still kind of have those moments, but whatever. I like that Thunder was watching and following Tom, that was kind of cute. And Tom wants to tell his mum the secret, which she kind of knew there was. Yeah, I'm just genuinely curious if he's going to tell her or not. Although they kind of leave it as if he's going to come out as gay.
But I trust you, and I want you to tell me when you're ready.
He's gay, he's gay, he's gay, he's gay. What the? How does the saddle disappear with the dragon? In order to do that, it needs to be made out of the dragon scale. Which it clearly isn't. The only laugh this show has produced of me so far, that's just a long-winded way of saying I laughed, is that Plowhorn failing to save Dee again. I kind of like that running gag, if it is one. but other than the obvious evil corporation bad and want to exploit resources, I found myself again enjoying this episode. It's either that or I'm pissed. I did start to drink whilst watching these. I'm just sort of shocked at how much better the series has gotten. I just can't help that lingering thought of, I want to watch Race to the Edge. Because we have the same dynamic, but it's just a better show. But oh well. They leave it with an actual compelling cliffhanger with what the crystal means for the dragons. World building, nice to see you again. I hope they do sort of carry on with that. In retrospective of making this audio, I don't reference it again in this season. Episode 3. This episode is about Alex gaining more confidence, but is it me just sobering up, or is this episode more boring? It's a fairly generic zombie episode, so bringing it back to the beginning, the class has to do public speaking. Of course, Alex, being the massive introvert she is, doesn't want to do one. It's nice to see characters actually in class. You know, they're supposed to be students.
You picture everyone in their underwear?
Bruh, don't be horny, boy. More stuff triggers the senses in the dragon world, but this time it's the cousin of a featherhide? They are treated like zombies, which, I don't know, the whole plot of Dee being bitten and started turning has sort of been done before. Even in Race to the Edge with more of a fun angle to it. Feathers get captured and locks inside of a cage with others of its kind. Ooh, new area. They track it down by sniffing a shriek.
Plowhorn, track that screech!
Nice one, guys. And try to go free them. But what looks like a titan wing of one of these dragons is hypnotizing and leading the group. Cool. The gang holds off the horde. What is that ice? Okay. While Alex completes her arc of becoming more confident and becomes determined to rescue Feathers. Which is nice, but unfortunately in the next episode she's exactly the same compared to she was in the previous episodes. So other than this contained episode, she doesn't change at all. Character arc, but only just for this episode. You're exactly the same throughout the whole thing. You know, characters are meant to grow throughout the whole season. Keep it consistent, guys. Using her ingenuity and hologram from before. Chekhov, you did show your gun. She frees the dragons. The gang show the only time where a shot limit makes sense to be a factor, and they fix Feather's eyelids. But I noticed it was only in this episode. I think a couple of episodes it wasn't. It's really hit or miss, and unfortunately, once you see it, you can't unsee it. They are quite bold, just big eyes. Annoyingly, the resolution is that these are actually featherhides and shed, so no cool new species of dragon, but the excuse is they are all irritative. Why do they act like a zombie hive mind being hypnotized, attack dragons and people for no reason, just because they have irritative skin? It doesn't do that, right, Kevin?
Yeah, shedding's not very comfortable, especially on my face. But it doesn't make me want to go on a killing spree like those other dragons.
Also, whilst they're in shed, their palm tree leaves on their head turns to horns. Makes sense. But yeah, Alex gains more confidence. Episode 4. This is Tom bottling up his feelings and not sharing his issues and worries with the others. He's wondering what the dragon symbol means in relation to his heritage, as the helmet, which is his family heirloom, has the same symbol on it. Alex encourages Tom to open up more, to which he shares his thoughts with June in the final part of the episode. This is a message that, to be fair, I can relate to a lot, and him sharing it with June first is a great first step. And again, a great message. Tom kind of deals with his feelings by going to get space and exploring out alone, very similar to Hiccup, which is where they meet the new tidal dragons. Honestly, they weren't in the episode that much, as well as the new area they're in, which I would have preferred more time, instead of the episode being focused on the forest fire, which we've had before. The blaze was caused by Leonard from The Big Bang Theory.
I hate my name. It has nerd in it.
The name's Buzzsaw.
Oh, sorry, Buzzsaw. What kind of stupid name is that? But he's another antagonist, as he likes to cut down trees. Grrr, screw nature. He's a bit unhinged and blames the electric bird thing he saw in the sky for the fire, and he's obsessed with it. So I know where this is kind of heading. He's basically Bean Dagger. And the 3 henchmen doesn't really help either, through them basically being savage. Or savage. But he's now dead, so no worries.
Probably still drives.
They end up putting the fire out using the dragons from before, and no one is suspicious of the fire just randomly being put out. Also, why do they let Linda fly a drone? Useless Linda. Episode 5. I've understand the structure of these episodes now. Each of them have a separate arc for each rider, like how there's a different episode for each rider getting their dragons from the first series. So it's a little bit formulaic, but I guess it works. Want to keep it simple for the writers? You know, they can't have multiple arcs all going at once. Okay. So naturally, it's Dee's turn. Dee has daddy issues and needs to listen to rules, and actually Tom is a rule breaker, so we have our first conflict between the riders.
Something's wrong. Seems like I'm making a career out of catching you, Tom.
Like wood.
They got to this point by trying to save a bird on a wind turbine. It's fine. It has an established nest, meaning it's been there for a while, moved a lot. The animal is fine. You don't need to save it. It could get cut in half. If it does, natural selection, baby. The whole episode we see them arguing, and Dee saying to Tom that his dad left him to get cigarettes and never returned.
Dad's not around? I can't possibly understand a father-son relationship.
You said it. It's not my fault he took off and left you and your mom.
Tom has no dad, lol. But the main message is they need to work together. The resolution being fully bullshit. You'll see what I mean later. But in the end, Dee stands up for his dad, thinking that Cullison was such a bad influence. But Dee saying he's actually a good friend, and a mutual respect is formed.
It's enough to make a grown man cry. But not this man. Get back in there, Tia.
Tom needs to respect the rules more when he's above ground, and then Dee can relax a little bit more when he's underground. If you catch my drift. The riders are doing scientific research on the dragon? Hey, that's my job. Like putting tags on the terrible terrors, but they come across a new dragon species. And I hate it. Please kill it. Chuck a dynamite into its home, burn them alive. No. Seal the whole hidden world, make sure they are completely extinct. Yeah, I hate the design of that thing. Spider legs with like a ladybug body, with wings just slapped on, and not to mention the scorpion tail mace thing. Please die. It's officially now my least favourite dragon. At least I have that going on for it. Top 10 least favourite dragon. Number 1, the spider. Well, I don't even know what they're called. But the firepower is cool, shooting like flaming impenetrable webs, which disrupts Dee and Tom from getting to June and Alex after they tripped. Hello? Physics? You fall down and then you end up higher in the middle of the room? Oh, and June and Alex go in alone because they... Okay, this is just all a bit weird, right? So the spider thing clamps onto June's head because, I don't know, it's scared of the boys bickering. So Alex and June go in alone initially to try and get it off. I don't know why they just didn't smack it around the head with a hammer. At least it would be bloody dead.
If it's any consolation, you wear it well?
Another time the show made me laugh. In the end, to break the webs, they combined their firepower. What? This isn't like combining their firepower to break through the dragonproof chains, because that makes sense. It meets at the source. I haven't got a problem with that. I have a problem with that amalgamation of a beam. Let's just hope it's never used again. Please. Episode 6. Tom acts like when I listen to Celtic music.
In the merry month of June.
It's a Saturday, so the gangs go to the dragons. But they notice Thunder is missing. So, for the majority of the episode, they go out looking for him. With the riders being a dick to Tom for no reason, just let him ride with you. Through a series of tracking methods, they end up finding him in their new area.
Whoa.
What am I looking at? Here they come across a razor whip. With questionable motives, it's acting like a guardian, to which I'm presuming the Skrill. It confuses me because razor whips have never acted like this before. I don't know. They're doing like, oh, it's the dragon I know. Oh, I like that dragon. It's from the show. There's just an unnecessary conflict. The razor whip has new abilities we've never seen before, like creating the tornadoes. And I don't like that. show. You were doing so well in the beginning. Oh no. Right, let's see why. A, this type of firepower just doesn't match the dragon. It's a shark class dragon. B, spinning around really fast doesn't really produce a tornado like that. Also, it's like a combination of warm air or something like that. It just doesn't. That's just not how it works. It just looks really silly. Even if you're not taking physics fully into account, because I know it's a cartoon, it just looks ridiculous. Air from nowhere. Ah yes, I forgot razor whips were air dragons. Oh, and also, see, it's just the wrong fire type. Have the writers done their research? Also, it only slashes once with no visible cuts or marks, which this is literally what the dragon is known for. That's why it's a shark class dragon. There's 2 frames of nothing. Great editing, guys. They finally get to Thunder, but he's clearly been in a battle with another electric dragon. But of course from the trailer we know it's the Skrill. Oh look, a rivalry between them. But why? Skrills don't just want to start fights. The Skrill and Rescue Riders had a sort of beef with Hiccup and Toothless because they trapped it in a glacier. They pull a bit of an excuse which just still doesn't work, but that's in the next episode, which I'll get to. Overall, Thunder being overly aggressive towards the Skrill and the Skrill being overly aggressive towards everyone back just doesn't make any sense. Hey look, it's the dragon I know! Tom finally expresses his issue with the symbol to the group, but I don't know why it's so personal that he didn't really want to share it. And I can understand if he wants to come out as gay, but, you know, thinking that you might have some sort of heritage with these dragons, who wouldn't want to share that information? After the secrets come out, the other riders were just such dicks to Tom. I don't know why they're acting like this, because it's really not big of a deal. How are they so offended? And truth be told, it's none of their business. Also, whilst the riders were searching for Thunder, Eugene was looking for June.
So, June thinks she can...
That genuinely caught me off guard. I like how Alex's mums and the chief don't really care, because they know they do the good boy acts.
And while you search the skies for a well-polished response, let me answer that question for you.
Episode 7. Eugene is still looking for the Dragon Club and tries to hack into June's computer. Honestly, there's only 2 scenes of this in the episode, and ultimately it leads to nowhere. And if it leads to nowhere, cut it out the episode.
Lame.
To be fair, it's more of there's so much build up for such little payoff. The riders think that the Skrill fought with Thunder's family, even though there's no evidence of it. They see prints, but that's literally just Thunder's. And they even still think this after they discovering that the rival dragon was an electric dragon, because their main excuse was there's too many electric scorch marks. But now it makes sense, because it was the Skrill. I like how the environment interacts with the electric from the dragon. That's pretty neato. But honestly, this episode is just kind of boring. It's kind of stuff we've seen before, which is kind of a running theme. So Thunder and Skrill just don't like each other for some reason, and the whole episode is just the riders avoiding the dragon, then growing some balls to challenging it, using the environment to absorb the lightning to overpower it. This is sort of where the lacking in animation makes the climactic battle feel so underwhelming. This is like a nitpick, but whenever there's rubble falling, it looks so fake. Even Riders of Berktham made that possible. You know it's bad when animation from 10 years ago and probably less budget is better than we've got now. Anyway, the Skrill leaves into another new area with the gang coming across a spearhead with the strike class symbol on it. Either left over from the Vikings or someone actually living down there. Hiccup? Just a very old Hiccup? I don't remember the strike class symbol being plastered everywhere. So that doesn't really make sense. Whatever. But as I was bored throughout this episode, my mind kind of wandered a bit. I was sort of questioning everything I saw. Surely Thunder's blast would have just powered up the Skrill, as the blast is made of electric, as the Skrill is literally designed to absorb the lightning from the surroundings. I've seen a few people in the comments question of its size. I imagine it was just an old dragon, so just naturally big. We've seen one Skrill, so we don't actually know the size range of the Skrill. Or this one is a Titan wing, but obviously it won't have the design of a proper Titan wing one. It's just bigger. I think it's just bigger as in it can just naturally grow that big. Who knows, this is the second individual we've seen. But being such a big size, why is the dragon hanging around this tiny maze area? I thought it would have been in an open space with at least thunderclouds. It draws its power from lightning. Gotta be very claustrophobic and not easy to navigate. Finally, when the humans are talking, this just really bugs me. me. Why does Thunder look like he's listening and understanding? Toothless doesn't do this. He's either watching / guarding, playing, or sleeping. And he's not being involved with the conversations at all. Yes, I concur, my friend. So overall, yes, they did start doing their own thing, and the series is better. I enjoyed it. A couple of episodes that dipped, but that's still it's 5 out of 10, maybe a 6. They are still relying on pre-established things, like the hype of the Skrill and the Razor Whip, and kinda ruining them at the same time. And they do reuse the characterization with the Skrill and the main characters. Gang are the same but mixed around. Like D is Snotlout with the dumb jokes and daddy issues, and Fishlegs sort of making the fuss over his own dragon. Alex has rough and tough sort of sarcasticness, but just more sarcastic, and sort of Hiccup's inventiveness. June is literally just Astrid but more girly, and Tom is just a more boring Hiccup. He hasn't got the geekiness, he hasn't got inventiveness, he's just got generic main character syndrome. There's nothing much more to his character than, I want to be a lone wolf, or I want to break the rules. Sure, cool, jog on mate. Yeah, you're cool. They are heading in the right direction with most of these episodes, being actually enjoyable, but I probably said this before, and I'll say it again, just watch Race to the Edge, because there's the same dynamic, better stories, cooler dragons. The new dragons are just meh. They don't awe-inspire me like Race to the Edge, and I don't want to dig in further to really understand what they are. The Bubble Horn is literally a Rescue Rider dragon. The Flood Fang is cool, but honestly, I would like to see more of them. And the Spiderwing, I have no idea what it's called. I don't really want to know what it's called. It can burn in the fiery pits of hell. Now, I should point this out. Don't get me wrong. It's not the fact that it's a creepy dragon. I don't mind that. I really like the Silk Spanners. They're kind of spider-like, and they have a really cool design. But these ones, they just have a bad design. So that's season 2. I can't watch it legitimately. Peacock, I'm literally offering you money. Why aren't you taking it? TTFN, ta-ta for now.